How do I use facts when pitching my startup? Facts and data are a critical part of successfully pitching investors and raising your funding. However, in my experience, many startup CEOs make critical mistakes and don't use facts and data to leverage their advantages. I don't want this to happen to you. In today's video, I'll share with you 10 tips on how you can use facts and data to make your investor pitch stand out. I hope you like it. Hi, I'm Brett. On my channel, I help early stage startup CEOs like you raise money and grow your startup. So if this sounds like you, then hit that subscribe button and the bell and get notified every time I release a new video. Let's get started. And let's start with number 1 on my list. Number 1, use facts to tell a story, not just prove a point. Storytelling, as I pointed out in a previous video, is a great way to engage your audience and help you raise funding. Combine storytelling with a good set of facts, and you're on your way to success. For example, instead of saying we grew 40% last quarter, you could say before we adjusted our customer focus from large OEMs to medium-sized OEMs, we were growing at 10% per quarter. Last quarter, after we adjusted our strategy to focus on medium-sized OEMs, we grew 40%. And our pipeline of likely deals doubled. That's much more powerful. Next, let's move to number 2 on my list. Number 2, use data to explain your revenue status. Let's say your startup is pre-revenue and you're trying to raise seed funding of $2 million. You're almost definitely going to be asked about your revenue status instead of saying, we haven't introduced our first product yet, which is likely to kill your chances of raising funding. You can say, we have a waiting list of 1,200 potential customers. Of these customers, 273 have given us an initial deposit of $1,000. The data in this case provides the nuance that's lacking in a yes or no type of answer. Let's move to number 3 on my list. Number 3. You need to quantify the pain, not just the market. Investors want to understand how you think about the market. When you're presenting your total available market and served available market, you'll typically say something like this. Our served available market is $1 billion today, and our total available market will be $10 billion in 5 years. That's fine, but you're missing an opportunity to re-emphasize the pain your customers are facing without your solution. You can add facts to make your case. If you have a medical device that improves the accuracy of diagnosis, you could add, just as a reminder, an inaccurate diagnosis costs our customers $37,000 per patient on average. The additional facts are simple, to the point, and explains why you're going to win. Let's move to number 4 on my list. Number 4, explain data in 2 different ways to make your point. Let's say you've developed a new system that allows customers to implement your product in 4 days instead of 19 days. It's tempting just to say, we cut customer onboarding time from 19 days to 4 days. However, a much better way is to add something like, that's right, it's a 4.7 times improvement over the status quo. The use of multiple ways to get your point across works better because it reaches different types of thinkers, increases memorability, adds emphasis and credibility, and triggers an emotional response. Try it. Next, let's move to number 5 on my list. Number 5, use facts to isolate the key variable that drives success. It's important to remember that investors are getting pitched to every single day. That's why you want to explain what makes your company different easy for them to remember. A great way to do this is emphasizing the key to your success with data in a quick story. For example, you can say something like, we tested 7 onboarding flows. One tweak improved conversions by 38%. That insight is now baked into our core operating system. Next, let's move to number 6 on my list. Number 6, use facts to show your understanding of your business. There are some numbers that you should know at all times. These numbers not only show investors your deep understanding of your business, they also are critical for you to effectively run your business. The 5 numbers are, number 1, your monthly revenue. Number 2, your monthly burn rate. Number 3, the month and year you will hit cash flow break even. Number 4, your revenue at cash flow break even. And number 5, how much cash will you need to get to cash flow break even? I recognize these are estimates and that they will change. However, you ought to know exactly what these numbers are at all times. Now let's move to number 7 on my list. Number 7, you should know your competitors' numbers too. One of the companies I work with is competing with companies that like to throw out lots of seemingly impressive numbers about how fast their system processes information. To an investor that doesn't have deep knowledge of the market, but which by the way is most investors, these numbers can look impressive even when they are meaningless. Your job is explaining quickly what really matters, why it matters, and the contrast between your better performing product and the competition's product. Plus, knowing the market and the important data about the market really positions you well as the expert, which helps build investor trust. Now let's move to number 8 on my list. Number 8, use facts and data to answer questions. You're going to get asked lots of questions by investors about various topics. You want your answers to be data and facts, not hand-waving. For example, one of my investors asked me why we were behind our original plan. I initially answered the question with a story and joke that didn't land. Then, I explained in detail, using facts and data, the 2 reasons we were off our original plan. Even though we were behind our plan, the factual, data-driven answer built confidence and support. Next, let's move to number 9 on my list. Number 9, use investor-friendly metrics even if they aren't perfect. Your job as the CEO and presenter of information is presenting information in a way that your audience of investors can easily understand. The best way to do this is by using terms, data, and information they understand, even if it isn't a perfect representation of what's actually happening. For example, my company was competing in the analog IC market. The total available market is huge, around $89 billion per year. However, the market is really a collection of markets with each product family you develop addressing a different submarket that might be worth $20 million or so. You'd lose most investors if you tried to explain that nuance. They just wouldn't understand it. So instead, it's better to stick with the traditional served available market and total available market metrics that investors are used to. Finally, let's move to the last one on my list, number 10 on my list. Number 10, own your facts and numbers. One of the things that drives me absolutely crazy is when a founder is presenting their market numbers and they say something like, Gartner says the market will grow from $80 billion to $300 billion in the next 5 years. No, you need to own the numbers. Yes, you might use Gartner as a source, but they are your numbers, not Gartner's numbers. It's an important difference. Investors are looking for ownership. The company is your company. You decided to use Gartner's numbers because you believed they were an accurate representation of how big the market will be. Now, if this content is resonating with you, then please hit the like button, right now. One final thought. Use a 3-part structure to emphasize your facts. Here's how it works. You start by telling a story. This is part 1. Then you give the metric in part 2. Finally, you frame the metric in part 3. For example, you could say something like this. Before we launched, onboarding with our competitors took 19 days. With our tool, it takes just 4 days. That's nearly 5 times faster. And it saved our customers over 100 hours in just the first month. Now, I have 2 more things for you today. First, my free startup pitch deck template. It has all the slides you need to develop an awesome pitch deck. Click the link below to get yours for free. Second, join my free group of startup CEOs, Zero to Pitch. It's a community for startup CEOs focused on growing their companies and raising funding for their companies. Click the link below to join. Finally, click the subscribe button to get notified every time I release a new video. I'm Brett at brettjfox.com. Thanks for watching today. Take care. Bye.